want to bring to you.
All right.
We all know eventually the end of the road is going to come for number 9.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest name out there as far as who could replace number 9 has been Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Could you envision a situation to where the Saints trade a future first-round pick and possibly do an additional throw-in of a player like Stephon Anthony to a New England who definitely uses guys like that a lot more than the Saints ever will? Could it be a situation to where, and he's a former first-round pick, so it's almost like giving up 2 first-round picks for him? Could you see a situation to where the Saints make that trade of giving up 2018 first-rounder plus Stephon Anthony for Jimmy Garoppolo?
I really don't see that happening. And not just because of, like I'm saying, Jimmy's a bad player, but I think you can't find a single instance in the history of the decade Sean Payton's been here where he's went after a quarterback of that value who did not already have, a lot of talent and a lot of history behind him. Like Drew Brees. Drew Brees coming out of college and in San Diego, it was obvious that he is going to be a system quarterback who, in the right system, is elite because he's always been high accuracy, smart, but he's never been he's never been the Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. He's been you pair him with the right person, like maybe a McCarthy or a Peyton, the guy's going to excel, and he's always been that guy. Whereas Jimmy Garoppolo, to me, he is in a long line of replacement New England quarterbacks who look much better than they are because they are on probably the best consistent team in the NFL, and every single one of those who have been in New England and have left have failed. All of them. There's not a single one who backed up Brady when he was out for injuries or suspensions who are now leading teams to playoffs. Does not happen. So I think Peyton's smart enough to stay away from that. Now, if he can get a good deal on a Garoppolo, sure. But Peyton's not going to sacrifice his future for somebody who is not proven and somebody who has to learn his system and be molded. All the quarterbacks who have success in New England are because that system is easy for them to adapt and pick up and go with. But that is not how the rest of the NFL works. I mean, they are groomed to be good there, and then the play calls are perfect for that individual player. This goes back to me believing Bill Belichick is the second coming of, Jesus as a head coach. He's simply the best there is, was, and maybe ever will be. He's amazing. He's the only one I would consider up there with Bill Belichick is Bill Walsh, because Bill Walsh wasn't just a great coach. He was a great GM, front office type guy as well, and that's the mind that Bill Belichick has. Sean Payton is smart enough to know not to buy into that lie because he'll see the precedent. I mean, show me a single one of the New England backups who have ever become anything but a waste of money.
There's a reason why I let you answer that. And that's because all of the fans who are going to get themselves all in a frenzy behind Jimmy Garoppolo are going to forget one very important thing. When Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt after Tom Brady was suspended, a guy named Jacoby Brissett got in the game and did the exact same thing Jimmy Garoppolo did. He got New England to win as well. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo's talent. It's Bill Belichick's system. Matt Castle, and the list goes on, will look like all pros when it comes to Bill Belichick. The only person he couldn't fix was the unfixable Tim Tebow. That's it. Stay away from Jimmy Garoppolo, man. I'd rather see the Saints go after a quarterback themselves and try to groom a guy than ever try to go after Jimmy Garoppolo and think he's the quarterback of the future.
Which, don't get me wrong, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a talented player. And I think he could have the potential under a Sean Payton to be good. So, I mean, I don't want to get anything twisted. I don't think it's worth trading away 2 first-round draft picks. I definitely think Garoppolo is talented. And one of the things I like about him that separates him from some of the others is he's right at averaging a 70% accuracy rating for his career. With the one exception, I think he played one game in like 2015 where he threw like 1 of 5 or something. But overall, he's a very accurate quarterback. To me, that's the most important stat there is accuracy. So, yeah, maybe he could. I'm just not willing to give up 2 first-rounders, basically, to get him. If he comes in a deal or he comes in like a 1-for-1 trade, like we give you a starting middle linebacker or Stephon Anthony and you give us a backup quarterback, I wouldn't like it, but I could live with that. But I'm not giving up a first-rounder for a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Personally, I don't even think I'd touch Jimmy Garoppolo, even though number 9. Because here's the thing. I don't foresee a situation to where the Saints are going to be in a position to get Jimmy Garoppolo. That's just me personally. You have too many other teams out there that are quarterback needy. San Francisco, Jacksonville, Houston Texans, although they just gave Brock Osweiler a boatload of money for no reason at all, I still find that to be laughable. The New York Jets are also a team that needs a quarterback. I mean, there are way too many teams out there that are quarterback needy for the Saints to spend any high dollar amount. I'd rather you take the time out and try to find your own guy. And for all those who are thinking that maybe I'm talking about the guy from North Carolina, Mr. Trubisky or whatever his name is, no, I'm not speaking on him.
Well, let me just throw this out there one more time about Garoppolo, because this is the one thing that separates him from the other backups who have left New England. I mean, Matt Castle was never a 67, 68, 70% passer. He was always a 60% passer. Jacoby Brissett, even when he stepped in this year, he played, 2 games? 62% passer, no touchdowns. That is where Garoppolo is better. He is a very accurate, especially medium to intermediate routes. So I think he could have success with New Orleans because Sean Payton is arguably the best offensive mind there is. He's up in the top 3, my top 1. So, yeah, there could be success, but it is ridiculous to even consider sacrificing your potential future for a guy who minimum is going to sit 1 year behind another Hall of Famer. It doesn't make any sense. And if you think that the 2017 is going to go like me and you do, which means that they do well in 2017, get back into the playoffs, then Drew Brees stays for at least another year after that, maybe 2 after another quote-unquote extension, and then you've got this Jimmy Garoppolo guy who you just spent 2 first-rounders on sitting 3 total years. That just doesn't make any sense.
Which is why I'm of the belief, and I believe Drew Brees and the Saints will do wonders next year. I mean, I think I called it, earlier in the season. This is going to be your 8-8 season, but this is your springboard. This is your springboard to next year of being a playoff contender, possibly, a Super Bowl contender, depending on how well the defense and the pieces can gel and how quickly they can do that. However, if you're gonna make that move and you're gonna go in with the assumption at this point that that's what happened, then you're looking at Drew Brees possibly playing until he's 40, 41, then you do draft the guy. Because by the time you've Aaron Rodgers the entire situation, which is, you've let him sit for 3 years and now he's ready before he gets into his 4th and 5th year of a contract, that's when you make that move. And by that time, if you want to get rid of Drew Brees and he's ready to still play and you're ready to move on, then you do the same thing. Look, Brett Favre still played, great years after he left Green Bay. He just wasn't the Brett Favre that he was in Green Bay. It's okay. Drew Brees is one day not going to be a Saint, whether that be because he retires, whether that be because the Saints have traded him and they've started the new era, or whatever have you. At one point, it's going to happen. We just have to make sure that we're more prepared for it to where we're not the Cleveland Browns or any of those other teams after Drew Brees is gone. You want to be, for us to be like the Packers or the Colts, those guys are the exceptions. They're not the rule. So, we need to start the process now in case we find the next Garrett Grayson, who everybody thinks is, could possibly be the heir apparent, and find out he can't even get on the field. He's on a practice squad. We need to do that now. Or in the upcoming year, we need to start looking towards the future.
Well, I want to add one thing to what you just said, and that's this. When Drew Brees is gone, Sean Payton's probably gone. So it's not just replacing Drew Brees. Because once that era ends, I think it ends for everybody. Just like I think Bill Belichick rides off in the wind when Tom Brady decides to hang it up in 3 years. So it's more than just replacing Drew.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because recently, and I'm not sure if we're going to touch on this or not, but now is the greatest time as any. Recently, there's been a lot of chatter about Sean Payton possibly getting traded or, may not be the head coach of the Saints next year. And a lot of fans are kind of just dismissing these reports as just, splash reports and useless chatter and all kind of other stuff. But as Rev just said, we already understand the clock is on Drew Brees for his time in New Orleans. Sean Payton and Drew Brees are tied at the hip. Hate it or love it, that's what it is. So the idea of Sean Payton not being with the Saints and you guys out there trying to smash every major media outlet that comes about that makes this suggestion, don't smash those guys just yet. Ask yourself these questions. Why is the report coming out? Why is it coming out now? Is there any credence to it? Is it possibly coming from Sean Payton's camp? And last but not least, why the hell would you want to do it? Let's go over the list. Is there any credence to it? Well, here's an idea. Recently, as of this Saturday, after the game, T-Ben, in the middle of a question asked to Sean Payton, great coach, great game. Why did Mr. Benson feel like he had to come out and say that? Why are you defending the fact that Sean Payton is a great coach and he just coached a great game? In the midst of this media speculation. Here's another question for you. Why would the NFL media or NFL outlets come out and say Sean Payton is seriously monitoring these games? I mean, these other coaching availabilities. There's a reason for it. I'm not saying Sean wants to leave, but to continue to have his name floated out there may just be enough. He's already got a big contract from it. Now he wants to keep his name in the loop that, I could be had, so if things start to go south in New Orleans and, we don't make another run, or Drew Brees decides he's going to hang it up, I could be made available. It's almost like, you're fishing. I'm just casting the bait out there to see what I can catch. I may release the fish, but I'm at least going to try to catch it. Here's another thing that people need to consider. Why would you want to? Here's what I don't see, and I think I heard a caller on today's Sports Angle would make this point. You know who you don't hear mentioned as one of potential coaching candidates for another spot? You don't hear Bill Belichick. You don't hear Andy Reid. You don't hear Mike Tomlin. You don't hear Pete Carroll. These guys are winning coaches. Why would you want Sean Payton who's going 7-9 every year? I don't think the teams are out there floating Sean Payton's name around. This is bigger than what we want to imagine. And when Sean Payton and Drew Brees finally decide they're going to call it quits, whoever does it first, the other guy's going to be out the door right after. We just have to get used to that as Saints fans because we're quick to dismiss anything that we don't like. I don't believe that, so I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to say that they guys just making up stuff. Who the hell wants to do that? Are that guys who want attention? Absolutely, yes. But when you work for CBS, NFL Network, Fox Sports, NBC, you don't need to. You got headlines already. Because every Sunday, every Saturday, Thursday game, whatever comes on, they're going to stick a camera right in your face and ask you what you want to know. Or give you free speech to give your opinion. They don't have to make up stories. This story, it didn't just come out of thin air and somebody just woke up and said, you know what? I'm going to say Sean Payton wants to get traded. That's going to make headlines. Let's do that. It's coming from somewhere. Some of you are going to tell me y'all didn't think Sean Payton was going to leave at the end of the year before Mickey Loomis gave him that $9 million a year contract? Tell me you didn't think Sean was gone. I'm just missing that report.
Well, I'll say this. I think it's a mixture of both. Because let's also keep in mind that guys like Ian Rapp, who are the only one, he's really the only one pushing this because everybody who's referencing the old Peyton leaving, their main source that they cite in all these articles is Ian Rappaport, who is generally wrong about everything that comes to New Orleans football. Now, I'll say this. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I disagree with you when it comes to if Sean Payton is worth anything to somebody on the market, because let's keep in mind, we're talking about an NFL that's kept Jeff Fisher in the league for decades, and he's never won a single thing in his life, ever. So, come on now. I mean, Pete Carroll, all those guys, except for Bill Belichick, have also not been with the same team for over a decade. I mean, Andy Reid was getting his, just a couple of years ago, and then he went to Kansas City. I mean, I think Sean Payton's only up on the block now because everybody in the NFL realizes that coaches don't stay in one spot for very long. So